Woo, man, welcome to the show, episode 2. I hope you guys were out enjoying the sunshine, beautiful weather we had today. Tonight, a few things we're going to chat about, a few spec racing thoughts, and basically how to get into the hobby of RC and get going. I can't tell you guys enough. The beginning, it can be overwhelming. So basically, we're gonna explore what I feel is a good way to get rolling in the hobby. Spec racing, a lot of you guys are familiar with it. A lot of new guys aren't. It's like the Legends class. The car is a whopping like $99. A radio, a battery, and a servo, and you're racing. Everybody has to run the same bodies. Everybody has to run the same tires. Everybody has to run the same battery, the same gear ratio, the same motor. So it comes down to driver ability, in which most cases that's how it ends up. The Euro Truck Racing League is the same way. It's a whole lot of fun. Everybody has to use the same equipment. It boils down to a little bit of driver ability along with a little bit of fun. Let's see here. Let me show you this. This is Euro Truck at the gate. This was pre-COVID, so the footage is kind of old. Here I am in the start. I'm out front, and you can see like there's contact. Not even in the first lap. It's simple, it's cheap, they're durable. I just happened to break a chassis because I was over driving the car. This is the absolute most fun. This is qualifying. Everybody's staggered start kind of deal. I believe it was, or maybe it's the main. I can't remember. Anyway, this is a minimal setup. There's not a whole lot of adjustments on these trucks. You can't change caster, camber, and all that jazz. You set it up right out of the box, you assemble it, and go. Paint your body and go have fun. This kind of racing right here boils down to just charging batteries and saucing your tires. A lot of the other classes, I wrote down some stuff here in my notes. These are just a few of the things that you got to be conscious of while you're racing. These are the adjustments that you could possibly make. And I know I'm not adept at all of them. There's guys doing stuff I'm sure that I don't even know about. But the bare minimum during the day in other classes, you got to worry about your ride height, your caster, your camber, your toe in, toe out, front and rear on all-wheel drive, your track width. A lot of guys play with the roll center. If you're running a pan car, you got dampener tubes, springs. You got to worry about your differential. Then you got to watch your battery voltage and your battery temp, because there's rules now on the maximum temperature your battery can be when you go to tech. Chassis tweak and different kind of lubricants as the tubes need to be smoother or stiffer depending on traction conditions, which will change throughout the day. And a lot of guys check their motor temp to make sure that things are consistent. This class, Euro Truck Racing, is one of the easiest ways to get into RC. The Legends class, I have footage somewhere of that too, but I'm not going to dig it out right this second. The other options are really for basic tools like Phillips screwdriver, maybe a couple Allen wrenches, and a nut driver for your wheels and tires. You get yourself a decent radio and a decent charger that you can expand on in the future. You know, use as you level up your game. Let me try to find another one here. Let's see. I had this all pulled up earlier, and of course I misplaced everything. Now, anyway, we've got a message here. Let me check the comments. Nobody. It must have been my phone. Yeah, hang on. Joe's trying to chime in from New York. Let me see here. We're trying to have a guest spot on tonight. Apparently, the link is not working. I don't know. I don't know what I did wrong. Anyway, Spec Class Racing is really the simplest way to get into RC, because there's not a whole lot of thinking that you have to do about setup and maintenance. A lot of these guys, I started with a Legends car, moved up to the RC 10L pan car, and still made mistakes. Like, I went from Legends racing in the parking lot races to racing on carpet, and I didn't know anything about traction compound. I sat in the pits working on my stuff. First qualifier came up, I threw my car on the carpet, and as soon as the tone went off, it did donuts on the straightaway. I had no idea. The amount of crazy things that go on when you're trying to maintain your car and work your pit strategy, sometimes less is more. A lot of these touring car guys and pan car guys, there is way more adjustability and fine-tunability for your driving style. You can get the car to feel good to your style. The spec class stuff is not so much adjustable. And it's easier in the beginning if you don't have a lot to do in the pits. My recommendation is, run one, maybe two classes tops till you get enough trigger time and enough experience under your belt on how things perform and what things do. I made that mistake. I left the hobby, and it had been probably, 15, 18 years since I got back into it. And I thought I was going to pick up where I left off. Big mistake. Racing a simple class like Euro Truck, it gets you back into the groove. It gets you the feeling and the trigger time so you can see what the truck is doing. Man, I totally believe, Joe, less is more when you start out. the simpler you can make it, the better off you're going to be in the beginning. Less is more. And like Bud Bartos used to say, slow is fast. It's true. You slow down a little bit, you get a little bit smoother, you make the corners. Basically out there trying to get as many laps as you can cleanly without being marshaled. Man, the first time you make a good lap on a good line and don't get marshaled, woo, baby. That should be your focus. How many times can I get around this track without being marshaled? Like I was talking yesterday, throttle management, slow down a little bit. Be a little bit more deliberate in your driving. And spec classes really teach the basic foundation and fundamentals. You will eventually level up and you'll have a car that has, infinite adjustability. And yeah, a lot of guys, they get going and they realize that it's fun and they're at the track for 12 hours and racing one class gets kind of boring because you're sitting around for a lot of the day waiting for your next round. Well, then you buy another car and then another car and, more tools, more equipment. Now you're running 3 classes. Your pit strategy's totally changed. You're trying to charge 3 batteries and work on 3 cars setups at the same time. And in the beginning, it gets to be overwhelming. You really got to develop, like I said, the routine, the pit strategy. I myself realized that I wasn't going to pick up where I left off. So yeah, going back to the Euro Truck and the simpler designs of Spec Racing has been way more fun than sitting around chasing tenths. I mean, I used to do that. I was a fast guy back in the day, and basically that's not part of my deal anymore. I am wanting to have fun, enjoy the hobby. I'm not looking to post track records and crazy, A-main times. I just want to have fun. And I think a huge part of it is the guys forget that. The guys forget that, you spend all day chasing a tenth on your chassis setup, and you're so focused on getting a tenth, you forget about the fun factor. I like to be able to be in the pits. I sauce my tires and charge my battery and throw my Euro Truck on the track and go. I sit around and try to absorb what's going on. Yeah, Jimmy Herman. 2 class max no matter who you are and where you are at in skill level. This makes great sense. Absolutely. There was a time when I was racing 3 days a week. And back then, it was crazy. Like, you eat, sleep, and breathe this stuff. Like many people in many hobbies and motorsports, whatever it is. You eat, sleep, and breathe it. It starts to consume you. Well, I don't want that anymore. I don't want to be consumed by my hobby. Guys don't realize the preparation that goes in. Jimmy Herman races nitro, baby, A-scale with the guys in Toledo. You're talking being on the driver's stand for 30 to 45 minutes, a refuel. You got to have a pit man. And basically, you're up there for 30 to 45 minutes driving something that's going 70 miles an hour around the track. 2 classes? No. The preparation that goes in, these guys race this stuff. Jimmy with the nitro A-scale stuff. When I was racing the nitro stuff, you raced on the weekend, but at home, you were working on that car all week long to get ready for the next weekend. The maintenance is up there. You got to check everything, go over the whole car. Sometimes, your diff, it craps out in the middle of a race, and you've got no choice but to pull the whole freaking rear end off the car to rebuild the diff. Jim, one class if you want to have fun, for sure. Joey, get a win in one class before you run another class. This makes sense. This makes absolute sense. Jimmy, again, just came back from Fort Myers. That was one of the biggest races I ever attended, okay? And as a beginner, all right, and you get to that level, I'm standing on the driver's stand with guys from all over the globe, man. Italy, Venezuela, everywhere. And these guys are all putting it down. This is a huge race, biggest race I've ever been to. When you end up looking back at it, when you started with a Legends car, the next thing you know, you're spending $2,000 to go to one racing event. It's an awesome hobby, man, but you got to realize it takes a little bit of effort and some work to get there. It took me years to get there. I had very little money, very few extra parts, which is the case when you start out. You don't go to these big races unless you have spares in your box. You start to accumulate, well, I'm going to need another motor. Well, I'm going to need another, 10 sets of tires from this softness to this hardness. And, I got to mount and glue my tires, and then I got to true them up. And, it's a lot of work to get to that point, man. And people don't realize. As a beginner, it's got to be fun. It's got to be fun. And as you learn and gain skill and driver ability, you'll get to that point where you're not so focused and you're relaxed on the driver's stand. When you see guys talking to each other on the driver's stand while they're driving, you know their game is good. They're comfortable enough to communicate with other drivers while on the driver's stand. As a beginner, this is almost impossible. As soon as I wreck in the straightaway or whatever turn I'm in, I let everybody on the driver's stand know where I'm at. So they know that there's a down car in the infield or on the straightaway or on the outside of the straightaway. I tell everybody, go inside, go outside, wherever. That goes back to the whole driver etiquette discussion I had last night. Spec class racing, people. There's 8th scale electric. I mean, the list goes on and on. Find a spec class that suits you, that you like, and make the small investment. Learn the car, learn how to drive, learn how to cycle your batteries and do your maintenance. Check your car over, develop that whole routine. Let's see, what's Jimmy here? Let's see. Don't go to a big race and expect to do well. Go to enjoy the hobby and the experience, especially for the first few. This is so true. Here's an example it kind of brings up. When I started racing back in the 90s, I was racing with Wayne and those guys at Bracknell. Okay? Now, mind you, these are some of the fastest guys on the planet. So you're trying to keep up with these guys, and basically being a new guy, it's not happening, but you're trying. And you race there week after week, and you work on your car, and you do what you can, and then you go from your home track to, say, another track, and suddenly you podium. Because now you've been racing with the fastest guys on the planet, trying to keep up with them, thinking you don't have the skills or the horsepower. And suddenly you go to another track and realize racing with these guys has pushed me to the level where I'm a little bit faster than I originally thought I was. And I have a little more skill than I originally thought I did. You could be at home and dominate at your home track. And like Jimmy says, don't go to a big race and expect to do well. Because believe me, like my dad always told me, there's always somebody out there faster than you. Truth. I mean, you're going to do the best you can with the equipment you got and hope for the best. But with Spec Racing, it kind of levels the playing field a little bit. You're not racing against guys with foot lockers full of tires and toolboxes full of motors and spare chassis and cars in their hauler bag. It's just fun competition. And eventually, if you want to take it to a little more serious level, have a little more horsepower and the smell of nitro, burning your soft tissues, hey, have at it, man. It's fun. We've all done it. Let's see. If you want to be fast, run the class. You aren't going to be the fast guy. You will get faster. Yep. That's true, too. And it's funny because I joked with Wayne. I saw he finally had a fancy set of drivers and a tool stand. And I don't know how many of you guys really know, but Wayne never had fancy tools. He uses a roll of tape for a car stand. Like, it's absolutely amazing. Well, the fastest guys on the planet know what they're doing. They've got years of tuning experience. Absolutely fun to be around. If you want to be a fast guy, you got to learn from the fast guys. Take their advice, take their setup tips, and make sure you're humble about it. I can't tell you enough, man. The ego gets a little boost, man, when you start doing well and you're having fun. Your head gets a little big. You get a little cocky sometimes. Well, that doesn't always work out for the best. And like I said last night, before you compete in a big race, go watch one. Joe says here, yeah, I went to the indoor champs to watch. Like, you go watch these guys put these cars around this track. I don't care if it's carpet, asphalt, nitro, electric, whatever. The A-main guys, man, sometimes you can barely get a piece of paper between them. It looks like a serpent running around the track. Literally. One car bumper to bumper with the next. Jockeying and fighting for position, close racing. Some of the closest racing I've ever seen has been in the RC hobby. And when it boils down to close racing and driver ability, it gets exciting. It does. But even in the spec world, it's the same feeling. Competing with your friends and the fellowship of other racers is huge to me. To me, it's not about being the fast guy. Right now, my fast days are pretty much over. I just want to have the fellowship and hang out with other racers and like-minded individuals who like to have fun. A lot of guys, like I said last night, take it to the point where it's cutthroat. I know this, like I said, because I've been there. Many of my racing friends also have. You got to realize you're not the fastest guy on the planet. Go have fun, hang out, have fellowship with your friends. Go to dinner after the race, have a cold beer, big greasy bar burger and some fries. Talk about the shenanigans that occurred during the day. And now with the advent of this live streaming situation and, YouTube and a lot of other people that are now podcasting in the RC community, it's growing fast. When I wanted to start this setup back in 2017, there was hardly anybody doing podcasts or live streaming. Tim Smith, he was one of the first ones I started following. He does all the drag racing on the West Coast and basically created the movement, the no prep drag racing movement. You know, it's pretty phenomenal. I followed him, and then his buddy does RC Drag Talk, so I followed him. And the next thing you know, like as the years went on, progressively, there were more and more people trying to boost the hobby and boost the community. I can't pronounce his last name, but it's RC Oval Connection. His name's Ricky, man. This guy during the pandemic just did some things to kind of revolutionize what was happening in the hobby because we were all like on lockdown. All these guys that go live and are doing podcasts and interviews with fellow racers, other drivers, manufacturers, it's really awesome to see. And I hope it attracts more beginners. I hope it gets more people into the community. There was a guy at the track that just got started racing and was telling me, oh man, I've got, the Traxxas T-Max and the Slash, and I've raced off-road. Well, the question was asked in the video that Hobby Bobby posted, why do backyard bashers don't, how do I say it? Why do backyard racers and bashers don't convert to regular racing? First off, there's a lot of rules and there's a lot of setup. And when you're in the backyard, you're just bashing. You don't got to worry about setting your car up. You don't got to worry about caster and camber and tow in and tow out and ride height and battery temperature and body weight and the million other things that goes on. As a beginner, man, that stuff is overwhelming. And I can't say enough. For him to go from running his monster truck in the backyard and racing his Slash a little bit off-road to committing to carpet racing and running for points. We do a lot of point series at the club racing level, and it's fun. The guys that go from hanging out with their buddies, racing up and down the street and playing in their park, in their backyard or whatever, that make that conversion to actually wanting to race and compete. It's an eye-opener. He is definitely seeing things beyond what he ever imagined in the RC racing industry. And to simply show up and put in trigger time, that's all it takes. With the Spec Racing, you get it all in one package. You get the drive time, you get the track time, the hot laps, whatever you want to call it. Get out there and run it. That's what Wayne says, man. Get out there and run it. Guys, that's the simplest idea for me. I really want to try to promote Spec Racing. And now, with the advent of the GT12 class, I don't have any footage of that yet, but I'm telling you right now, a 12 scale GT12 rubber tire class is getting huge. The super stock 12 scale class, it's all making a resurgence. These guys, SJT tires, I don't want to give you misinformation, but I believe that's the guy that's making the rubber tires for the 12 scale car. And at the gate, man, the racetrack is like a scientific test facility. These guys test everything and try everything. It's kind of like I knew a guy growing up that put pistons in a small block Chevy backwards just to see if it made more horsepower. Like, how do you know till you try? These guys experiment and try everything they can to figure out all the details. What's good, what's not, what works, what don't. Joe, this is good. I'll post that one. Stay up till 4, sleep for an hour, and go racing. Me and Joe used to sit and build entire kits all night long to go racing the following morning. We built a couple of sprint cars, custom works, direct drive sprint cars, and went racing the following morning. Those days are gone. I don't do that. I won't do that anymore. I know that the tiresome part of trying to make that commitment and get into the race and doing the best you can, it's exciting. And we do dumb stuff. We sit up all night working on junk. It's awesome to see that, I believe it was Jimmy McKinley posted RJ Speed like Nationals or something where it's all spec cars. And I'm really excited to see that. I would like to attend something like that where it's all spec racing. The whole idea is, like I was saying, the fellowship, the fun, and the competition. I hope that you get a little bit out of this and try to help some new guys. Try to promote coming to the track. Try to promote watching live feeds. Try to promote your fellow racers. Try to promote yourself. Have the confidence to speak up. Say what you feel. It took me a long time to get here. I'm not a real people person, if you didn't know. I'm working on it, though. I'm working on it, believe me. It's now 9:03. Joe, we'll see you next time, baby. We'll get it figured out. We'll have you on the show, and we'll talk some nonsense. Jimmy Herman, Russ, everybody that tuned in, I appreciate it. I thank you. Like I said before, I'm praying for you. I love you guys. And God bless. Till next time. I'm out.